nice to see you, Carmen. I'm so happy to see you again. A new season, a second season of International Esports Business Live. And we started with a really great guest. But first of all, how are you, Carmen?
I'm, as always, excited to be here. And of course, I mean, I feel like the first season was amazing, and I'm expecting so many things from the second season, starting with this guest that you're talking about. But of course, I was so excited to finally work with you again. I saw you at the Esports Business Live Awards, and I wanted to see you again and work with you.
Well, the good thing is we are going to have more time together. We are going to bring so many guests this season and new topics, and it's going to be really exciting. But I know that all of you are actually here for our guests, so we are going to introduce each other. So I'm Yasmina, an intellectual
Okay.
property lawyer, and you, Carmen.
Hello, I'm Carmen Junquera, also known as Carmeline, host and pastor in esports.
And now our amazing guest. Hello, Jorge. Nice to see you here.
Hi, how are you? It's nice to be here with you today.
We are really, really excited to have you here, especially because I know that a lot of people who are watching us right now, they will know your profile because you are actually the co-founder of Mad Lions, one of the biggest teams in esport. And also you are not only that, you are the president and you are the vice president of OverActive Media, I think. Yes, I'm right.
Yeah, VP strategy, exactly.
Oh my
Ooh.
God, you have a huge profile here.
Thank you.
But of course, we have so many questions, and I think it's going to be really interesting from us, and especially to to learn more about this topic. But first of all, how do you? Because know that you have a profile in startups and as entrepreneur. I think, how do you end up in the esports sector?
Well, I'm a gamer myself, and it's probably my main passion. Although I don't have much time to game anymore, sadly. So I've been following the esports industry since it started. I have to admit, before creating Mad Lions, I wasn't myself watching too many matches. I remember I did watch Astralis every now and then because a good friend of mine, he was actually an investor in my previous companies, and he was also the first big investor in Astralis when they were doing CS:GO. So I remember watching some CS:GO matches just out of curiosity, and that actually sparked my interest in this industry. And then I started looking into it, and I felt that back then, 2017, it was kind of like at a tipping point where you could already see that it was stopping to be kind of like just something that people were doing for fun, and structures were starting to become serious businesses, right? It was kind of in that in between period where you were starting to see businesses, but they were not mature enough. So it was a good opportunity to enter the space.
Mhm.
It's great. You see like at the potential at the end of of this sector. I see.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
so
Also, it was, I think it was,
mhm.
it was a time that it was still affordable to enter esports. We did a big investment, but we would have had to do a bigger investment if we had entered now, and many of the doors would have been closed, like the LEC, and stuff like that. So I think it was a good time. And at the end of the day, if you look at consumer trends, esports is exactly where the consumer trend is going, right? Especially if you compare it to sports or to other forms of entertainment like on TV, etc. All of that is slowly dying, and it's all coming our way. So it was mainly that, was seeing that the audience was moving in this direction. It was a place that we needed to be in from a business perspective, and there was a lot of room, we felt, to improve on how things were done, and there was a lot to learn also from people who had been here in this industry for long. So that was also quite enticing and quite exciting, to get into this industry that's so different to the others that I've been in before, and learn also from the people who've been here for longer than I have.
No, no, that's great. And actually, you succeeded, as I can see. And of course, I think as you say, there are other industries that are actually in somehow, I'm not going to say then dying, but because they need to modernize and see how it's evolving the industry, what the teenagers and people are demanding right now. But I think Carmen wanted to make you another question that is thing a lot of people wanted to know more about it. And I'm going to let you, Carmen. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember the launch of Mud Lions. Was it in Gamery, I think? I remember like the event itself with the jackets and everything, all the show that you put on for the fans and to, incentive people to actually follow the team. But I also want to know how Mud Lions came to be, because you've told us about how 2017 was quite a good year to start doing this. And well, I mean, many teams in Spain were already walking like Heretics. Then you had Origin, yet you managed to create a team that will come to kind of represent Spain, put us back in the map when it comes to esports. So my question is, how did you decide to create Mad Lions? Who were your
Yeah.
partners at the time, and what was the process like?
Sure. So it was actually quite fast. I remember I was taking a couple days off from work, and I had been reading about esports more and more. And I remember I went down to the south of Spain that weekend, and I started watching a bit more and reading a bit more on it because I had a bit more free time. And then I said we need to do this because there's a big opportunity here. We've always played a lot into the regional feeling of trying to be the team from Madrid, but also the team that represents Spain internationally. I was seeing that many orgs were trying the opposite. They were born local, but they were trying to really appeal to everyone. And we think that's very hard to do, as a first step. Like if you look at international brands, be it in fashion, be it in sports, be it wherever, they started all appealing to a local audience because that's what creates character, right? So we felt that together with everything that I mentioned before, there was that need. So I called up Marcos, who's my co-founder. He had been a professor of mine at university, and we became friends, and we kept a good relationship ever since. And I called him because I was running my other company, so I didn't have time to do this full time. And he was the only person that I knew that I trusted professionally who had been in touch with esports or gaming. He had been in Piro Studios, which is a game development studio here in Spain. They did Commandos and they did other great IPs, and he had been working there as project manager for some time. Nothing to do with esports, but it was the closest that someone that I knew that I could say, hey, why, do you want to get into this full time? And so he had the same situation as I had. He had his consulting company, and he couldn't do it full time, but he knew someone who could. So we employed someone, and he was also co-founder, to run it full time, and he was with us for the first year. And Marcos and I were more in the board of directors, so to say, more supervising strategically, etc. And this other person's Sergio, he was executing more the day to day. And then a year after that, Marcos and I went full time and took over also the day to day operations of the business. But that's how it started. That was like the day I sat down with Marcos was 1st of May 2017. 1st of August 2017, the company had been built and we had already deployed the investment. And halfway through August, we bought the Superliga slot. And then 31st of August, we announced the creation of Mad Lions to the public.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
That was really fast. I actually remember the interview that you have already here, and it's been as live, and it was quite interesting to know how the project, how it started, especially to know how Mad Lion actually came from not from Mad, like a play game, but
Yeah.
actually from Madrid.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting to see how you try to bring something that we see so often actually in the sport industry, that you feel like you're the Barcelona or Madrid, and you bring into the esport ecosystem. And that's quite a great strategy, I have to say. But how you came with this idea, why you choose it, so how was the strategy that you follow in order to the public to actually love Mad Lions, try to feel connected with the team?
Yeah. Well, we tried to do something different, not because we thought that what had been done wasn't good, just because if you do the same as others, then you're not the original. So we tried initially to to play the brand a lot into values, into doing things right. So we put a lot of emphasis on on everything that surrounds the well-being of the player, and the doing things that are responsible and doing things that are good for the fans and for the players, etc. So we played a lot into that because we felt that it was also a responsibility we had ourselves to do things right, and to maybe bring some of the things that maybe we saw that could be done better, and share them with the rest of the esports community. And I think a lot of other esports organizations have also since adopted some of those things, and that's great, right? And then the other thing that we played a lot into, I mean, the mat in Madrid, it was on purpose, right? That you could use both, because that way people from Madrid could feel identified with it, because it's the airport code for Madrid, obviously. But also people from other places, someone who's from, I don't know, from London, he may not know that mat is the thing for Madrid, right? So you can still attract people from everywhere, right? And then we tried to shy away from what we thought was quite a homogeneous branding in esports, which is everything was serious and everything was dark colors and neon lights and players with arms crossed looking into the camera, with a menacing look and things like that. And we tried to play more into joyfulness, right, and into enjoying your hobby, and into enjoying your passion, and all those things. And that's something that we still carry with us, right? And that we still try to show in most of the things we do, right? That at the end of the day, we're having fun, we're playing. This is not about killing each other or whatever. This is about making friends, about having good times, and enjoying this all together, right? So I think that did resonate to some extent. Of course, we've been polishing and changing things in the branding here and there. The logo obviously is new, etc. But I think we did hit something there, right? That I think resonated with a lot of people. We played very early on into the lifestyle aspect with the nice gaming house we built, and with streamers, and with doing content with them. Others have done so as well, of course, and they've been very successful at that. I'm not saying that it was like our invention, but I think adding these pieces up, it's what added up to what Mad Lions is today.
That's great. I actually have to say that even if it's not killing each other, we can be friends and kill each other, but it's okay.
Yeah,
We always.
exactly.
And I see here a comment from Trevor, and I think it's quite nice. It's actually, I'm going to put it here so we can read it. And he actually, I'm really happy to have you here because I think that people are enjoying. And he's saying that I'm building a community-based game, event center, and tournament venue to open up esport and tabletop gaming to the local communities. What you guys are doing is awesome, and I would love to talk with you. So thank you so
Oh,
much, Trevor.
Trevor.
It's really nice. And if later you want to ask questions, of course, do it because we will have like 10 minutes at the end of the program to have like all the comments from the audience and all the questions that you can make because we are going to do plenty of them. So we leave you. Sorry, Jorge, we trap you here.
No worries.
I also want to comment on something that you've said about the community. So I think it's not secret that I'm part of Mad Roller, which is like the fan club for Mad Lions and official fan club. But I have to say that in comparison to all the teams we've been supporting, Mad Lions has been by such a wide margin, like such a confident team, as in they are willing to talk to you. They do not shy away from talking to the fans, which is something I feel like many teams also following that seriousness do not do so much. You can reach out to them and they will reply, and you're involved in what the community does. And I think that's really valuable. So as a fan, I also want to thank you for that, because I think it's also what makes Mad Lions so distinctive from all the teams. So with that, I'm gonna leave Yasmina talk about something else because I'm getting like my fan side. I can't clap.
I think, thank you for supporting us, and we can still do a much better job there. But yeah, thank you for your support.
It's always nice, of course, because I think that actually, oh, thank you so much, Tomas. It's one of our colleagues. It's giving cheers here. I'm really excited about it. But of course, I think Matt Lyons has done a great strategy. I always think about it because even if I mean, I'm fan of different teams, but of course, I like what Matt Lyons does. And when I met you guys, when you explained all the process, it was quite interesting and see how much you have knowledge about the industry, and not only about the industry. You know how to see the market, like you, because at the end esport also is not only entertainment, it's also a market, and you understand this. And that's why I was quite interested in why in you, because I saw a notice, I think, an article related, like you put the team in the stock market, and I didn't expect that. And I wanted to know why you decided this. What is this a strategy? And if others can learn from this, or if you see it like a good step to follow.
So yeah, there's diverse reasons why we've done this, and it's been. I mean, we're not the first to do it, but we're one of the first for sure. In Spain, we are the or from the teams that are in Spain, we are the first, obviously. But the reason for this is several. So there's the business reasons, and then there's the community reasons as well, right? So
Mm.
from a community perspective, it's just a great thing generally that a fan can say, I want to own a piece of it, right? And a share is like buying one share, which is the minimum you can buy, is not a lot of money, right? It's not like, I don't know, buying a share that costs 4,000 euros or whatever. One share is 120 Canadian, right, or something around that, must be today, right? So that means that fans of ours, they can actually own a part of the organizations, right? Of Overactive Media, which is Matt Lyons, Toronto Ultra, and Toronto Defiant, right? And we just think that's a beautiful concept, right? That's like the concept that you see in traditional sports teams, in Europe mostly, where it's owned by los socios, like we say in Spanish, like
The stakeholders, I
the
think, Andre.
stakeholders, right, or the fans. But in this case, everyone can buy it, right? You don't need to join a long waiting list and then wait for years until you get to buy one piece. You can buy one right now, right? So that goes a lot with our philosophy and with our values, first of all. And then the second part as well is, the whole organization becomes very transparent to our fans, because now we need to publicly report our numbers and the information on the business and how it's going, on a quarterly basis. So everyone who wants to feel more involved, or everyone who wants to know more about us, just plainly, they can go and read those up and get all the information. So we're completely transparent now to our fan base, and generally to everyone, to our partners. That helps a lot with sponsorships as well, because brands see, well, these guys, we can now see, and it's been audited, that they're well funded, that they're doing, they're hitting their financial targets, each quarter, and they're in great shape, right? And then also, if we want to do some ambitious projects and we need some additional investment for them, being in the stock market makes it much easier to get that investment, because at the end of the day, you can open up an investment round, so to say, and everyone can participate in it. So it has a lot of pros. It's a lot of work, because getting there is a lot of work, and it's also a big investment to get listed, right? And it's a lot of work to be there, because you have to report on a lot of things. You have to do a lot of documentation very regularly. But that also implies that it forces us, since our numbers are so public, to properly manage the company, and to do it the right way, basically, because we know we are, everyone's going to see it.
I like it, and now I fully understand why you decided this, because of course I'm a lawyer, but not as good as Emilio, I have to say. And sometimes I have this perspective that I don't understand quite the market. So it's really interesting to learn from you. And I hope that all the audience is actually doing this self, and they feel like, oh my God, they can have the opportunity to learn from you a lot.
Thank
So
you.
I think now, Carmen, my fan girl, you can ask questions here.
Yeah, I want to get more into the sponsorship side of things because, you know, besides being in the stock market, I'm sure there are some more reasons why brands like Goico or Gothingless or Sat have decided to partner with you. So, how did you come to this agreement? And also, one, do you have enough sponsors? I mean, I understand the flock of money is always good to have, but like Goico is a restaurant, El Corte Inglés is like a chain of how we'll call them, like
Malls.
malls, yes, with food public that is known not for in Spain. Seat is a card manufacturer. So how did all these agreements come to be?
Hmm. Well, so the way they come to be, frankly, is just a lot of work, right? It's a great thing because it's really a team effort that is across the organization. So if you win matches or championships or whatever, and there's not great marketing, it's worth nothing. If you have the best marketing but you don't win, you're not going to get the top brands because you are yourself not a top brand. So you're going to be bringing the brand perception of your partners down, so to say. If you have all that and you don't have a great sales team, then you're not going to get through to speaking to the decision makers at any brand. So you're not going to hit any sponsorships either. And then if you have all of that and you don't have a good operations team that runs finance, legal, HR, etc. smoothly, your organization is going to fall apart from within. So you might achieve that, but it's going to be worth nothing in the future because the company is going to crumble. So how do you get to these is first by having a well-oiled machine. So having a product, to sell to those sponsors that is functioning very well. And we can always improve on everything, obviously, but it needs to be functioning well. And then the second part is you need to understand what they need. So what doesn't work is just having a catalog of things that they can do with you with prices attached to it and going to them and saying, hey, this is how much we charge for these things. Pick whatever you want, right? That doesn't work because that is not speaking to them. What we do, and others do it as well, but I think it's not commonplace in this industry or in sports or in other sorts of advertisement like TV shows, etc. Is we go and talk to a brand and we don't talk about anything but what do you as a brand want to achieve. So when we talk to SEAT, it's why does SEAT want to be in esports? What KPIs do you want to achieve? What is the outcome, the ideal outcome that will make you look like a hero internally because of having decided to be in esports? And then once they've told us that, we go back and we get our partnerships or sponsorships team together with our marketing team. We all get together and we start thinking about what things can we do with the means that we have with our players, our influencers, broadcast, etc., all of our assets to make them achieve those goals, right? And then we come up with a strategy with unique activation proposals, and then we go back to the brand and say, here's what we can do for the KPIs that you're looking for, right? And that I think has had a very good impact because even if we were talking to say two companies from the same category, imagine two insurance companies, what we propose to one company and to the other is completely different always, right? And that has a big resonance in getting these partnerships. And I think that plus having a well-oiled machine is what has worked in our favor.
So interesting. We expect to see more sponsorships coming up during this year, perhaps. And who knows, maybe even, I'd love to see like a makeup brand, a sponsorship, with a palette, with the colors for Mad Lions, like that bright pink, that blue. So cute and so amazing.
I think
Yeah,
it would be
that's
really
a
nice. We see that actually happening right now a lot in the esports sector, and happened with a series, I think, with Riot and another brand that is from Rihanna, I think.
Oh, yeah. Fenty, I think.
Don't worry, Jorge.
Possibly.
We are girls, so sometimes we have to talk about girly things.
No worries,
Don't
no worries.
worry. But actually, before we follow the questions, I think it's a good way to actually see how you personalize each of the partnerships that you have already. Like, how do you do it like personal? So I'm going to drop some videos, one related with Goico and the other the strategy you follow with El Corte Inglés, because I think it's a good way to the audience to see how you personally dedicate to each brand and what you actually offer them. So I'm going to prepare the video, so be ready. And we start with the first one with Mad Lions and Goiko.
Quiero dance, baby, better put on work. Estoy caliente, estoy en plan molotov. Si lo paro se va a quedar Robocop. Si hago pop, no hay stop. Quiero dance, baby, better put on work. Estoy caliente, estoy en plan molotov. Si lo paro se va a quedar Robocop. Si hago pop, no hay stop.
Oye, reserva.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel.
As we can see, so different ones from each other, and how personal different strategy we can follow, because of course it's not the same as Goiko and it's not the same as El Corte Inglés. And of course I have to say that I love that they put that music in El Corte Inglés. I love that song. It fits really well with it, with the brand. But what I wanted to ask you now is because, of course, when a brand approach you, they wanted to get inside the ecosystem and they want to understand how to get involved. But in this case, now you have actually a strong brand, you have a strong mark, and you have a quality team. And of course, you're not going to accept everyone who comes to you. So in this case, if maybe one's in the audience wanted to approach to you and have an agreement, what you are searching in this partnership, what kind of agreement or what kind of values, sorry about it, the Spanish is coming around.
Right.
You start in a brand.
Yeah. Well, these two announcements are they're very different because of who the brands are, right? We need to make always sure that we stay true to each other, meaning our partners and us, right? And that we don't go too far away from where they are, right? So Goico is a very playful brand. They like to do a lot of jokes and they like to, nothing serious and so on. So that's right up our alley. That's where the video was at and what it was about. And then El Corte Inglés, on their fashion department, they play it always more like you see it on TV. They play always more like a proper fashion style, etc. So we played into that, but then having a bit of tongue in cheek as well. With at the end the kiss from Carsey or Armud, the way he smiles at the camera, kind of almost cracking up, right? And like opening the curtain, like a bit like half comical, but half serious, kind of playing into it. So we always try to see that we can stay faithful to that. And the reason why this is important is because when you say how do you choose the partners or what do they need to have, right? First of all, they need to let us be ourselves, right? So we cannot go with we couldn't go with a partner where that El Corte Inglés announcement video would have been like fully serious and I don't know, like just not our brand, right? Because then it's not going to be useful to anyone, not to the brand, not to us, because our fans are going to think like, yeah, I mean, it's strange, and they're not going to be excited about it because it's not how Mad Lions is, right? When we partnered with GLS, which it's a logistics company, right? It's most of the time people don't think of a lot of fun when they think about logistics, right? But the GLS marketing team is they're a team that are shaking things up and that want to do things differently, and we fit so well with each other in that sense that we were able to do a really funny video about GLS entering esports, right? And those are the types of things that we're looking for, right? It's brands that allow us to be ourselves, and find that middle ground, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, and it also relates to the question of how many sponsors can a team have, right? And I always say as many as it keeps adding value to our fans. So if we're doing things together that are going to allow us to either create some content that we wouldn't be able to do without them, be it for resources or the budget or whatever, or they allow us to do that, or if they're going to add some other type of value, like for example with Imagine, our banking partner, who with whom we've launched the Imagine card. Those are the things that add value in those, and as long as we can keep on getting partners that allow us to create special experiences, special occasions for our fans that make being a fan of Mad Lions something better, then they're welcome.
But I did want to ask you about these sponsorships. We've seen many people appearing on both of these sports. In the clothing list one, we had the League of Legends team. In the other one, we had influencers like Ruby, for example. So who chooses who gets to appear in each one? Do sponsors usually approach you wanting to be like, hey, I would like for this sport to feature the League of Legends team, or are they open to any
Right.
ideas? Like maybe
Yeah.
we will like to have the influencers.
Yeah, I mean, we always try to choose our, like, normally it's us choosing because they know that we know who our different people appeal better to, right? And in the case of El Corte Inglés, it was because El Corte Inglés dressed our players to visit the mayor in Madrid, right, or the vice mayor in Madrid, and so it had to be the players because they were the ones visiting, right? So they got dressed for that, and then I mean they didn't go with the t-shirts and the open shirts to visit her. Obviously, they went with the suits, but we did a spot for that occasion, and they were dressing them, right? In the case of Goico, it just made sense that it would be our influencers because Goico is such an like over the top funny brand that you need that like kind of like outblown personality of our influencers, who are willing to do crazy stuff and whatnot. And, so we always try to choose whoever fits best for the purpose of the brand and the partnership.
Okay.
I see. That's quite interesting, and actually, I think it's a really interesting topic, and I always quite that we always going to find more and learn more because each brand, of course, is different. But here, I would like to know more why, because when I was searching all the information, and I wanted to find out why you have an agreement with GLS Spain, why you decided to be your logistic partner, and why you associate with it, and how do you find this strategy?
Well, it might sound strange, but at the end of the day, the touch points that our fans have with someone like GLS is constant because our fans are people who order a lot online, who buy a lot online, and hence they get a lot of courier services delivering at their door, right? And GLS knows that, and they wanted to be there. They wanted to be where our fans were. And quite frankly, we have a lot of logistics going on in our day to day. Less now so with COVID, but before COVID, our players were traveling, especially CS:GO. So there was a lot. There was a lot on that front, right? So having a logistics partner is just so valuable in in a situation like that, right? They can help with with delivering and logistics on merchandise. They can help with a lot of things, even when you get your Imagine card delivered. There's just so many occasions where having a logistics partner is just a great advantage to us. And then internally, they help us a lot, right? We have offices in Madrid, in Toronto, in Berlin. We're constantly sending things over from one place to the other. Sending things to our sponsors, sending things to our players, to our influencers, to equip them, to give them the latest Razer keyboard and mouse, to give them the best EPOS headset, etc. it's all the time sending things back and forth. So, the amount of help they provide to us is actually tremendous. And thanks to them, we're able to save on a lot of resources, do things better, and that allows us to then reinvest in other things that are more fan facing.
Great.
Okay.
It's great to know. And Trevor, I will take into account your question and I will drop it at the end. So don't worry. And if you have more, go ahead because I'm really excited that you are bringing so much question because we have an amazing guest and we are learning a lot. Thank you so much, Jorge, really, for being here today.
Happy to. Happy to.
Yeah, so I also wanted to know about the side of the stock market because it's a question that's been ringing in my head. We're talking about sponsorships and sponsors approaching you, finding synergies with them. There's also this one factor, the media outlets that sometimes can bring sponsorships down. We've seen it happening at the LEC, for example. So, how much leverage do media outlets have when it comes to deals with the sponsors? Because again, we've seen news like this team has reached about this amount of money in this latest investment round. So, do they really play an important role in this?
Yeah, I mean, they have a big role because they have a lot of reach, obviously, to our fans, and they are a way to come in to communicate with them. That we don't control, obviously. So they're seen as an objective point of view from someone else, and then some other media that might have a different point of view, of course. But they're just another source of information, and quite frankly, when there's situations where these things get out of control, right, and it hurts a team, etc. Most of the times, it's the organization team to blame, right? Because you need to know how to communicate things properly. Like if you're doing, I don't know, if you're doing a partnership and it gets criticized for whatever nature of it, you should have communicated better and more clearly the nature of and why you're doing that partnership and why the other party that is in front of you is doing actually is using this partnership for good, right? Because most of the times when we see partnerships and people criticize them, the critic is most of the times it's not justified. Sorry, because it's not like evil corporations thinking of how to screw people up or stuff like that, obviously. But if you don't do a good job at communicating that, how can people know, right? So I think if you're doing the right thing and you're doing a good job at communicating, you shouldn't be afraid, right? We're lucky to have a great PR professional in house who was just awesome at that. Um, but yeah, I think that's mostly onto it. And then still there will be some situations where it might blow up, right? But if you're doing things right in that sense, you shouldn't be generally worried.
And about communications, because now there is a topic that I think everyone is talking about recently, all about relating with blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrency, and it's something that we see so many in the media and social media. And I think sometimes it's a problem of communication and information because I think there are people who doesn't fully understand what a non-fungible token are actually, and they see it with scare because there are misuse of this tool that actually could be really interesting. And what
Yeah.
I would like to know here, it's more like I see teams like Cloud9 or, for example, G2 that actually see this approach in order to gain more fan base, like doing the NFTs for non-fungible tokens. And I would like to know what is your opinion with this tool, how to approach it, if Mad Lion maybe are considering to get advantage of this, and especially how you see, because I feel like a lot of people is getting involved, and I feel like it's a bubble, and there are people who doesn't fully understand why they getting involved.
There's both things, right? There's people getting involved who don't understand what they're getting into, and there's people um, having an opinion on it who just don't know what this is about, right? And criticizing it
Like
and just not understanding a thing, right? I didn't want to say concrete examples before, but I was mainly talking about NFT cases, right? When a team announces they're going to do their NFTs and people start shouting at them because of environmental issues, and they, and the fans, they don't take a minute to read that that those NFTs are on Solana or those NFTs are on Polygon, whose environmental impact of like minting one NFT is less than sending out a tweet. So in other words, that fan is having a bigger environmental impact by tweeting about it than everyone else by minting those NFTs. So it's part also just of the culture of the world we live in today, where people mainly think that they read three tweets and now they're experts on a topic, and they don't try to read for other stuff that can inform them about that. So yeah, I was mainly referring to that. But NFTs are, generally blockchain is just an incredible technology, right? I come from the tech space before esports, and I've been in crypto for many years, much longer than people even know that crypto is around. And it's just a great technology. It's people will see it at some point. It was the same with the internet and with e-commerce when it started in the 90s. People thought, well, my credit card information is going to be stolen, and I'm going to be I'm going to be stolen my money and whatnot. And those things happened. Of course they did, right? Because when a technology is new, it's not polished, the user interface is not good, so people can get scammed, and they did get scammed when the internet came about. But that didn't mean that the internet per se was a scam, right? And that didn't mean that companies investing in creating internet businesses were a scam. The same way that it doesn't mean that companies investing in creating their own NFTs are doing anything bad. In fact, they're doing great things, right? The other day when I saw the announcement of another team of NFTs, and Twitter was blowing up and people were criticizing it, but then you would enter the Discord server of those NFTs. I think it was a couple hours after the announcement, there were 30,000 people on it willing to buy them, right? So at the end of the day, just a few individuals who just don't read up too much on what they talk about and what they have an opinion about, and they just make a lot of noise. But at the end of the day, if you really believe that you're doing something that's for the good of your fans and that you're not doing anything that's bad in any sense, then you should just keep going, because time will give you, time will show you that you are in the right path.
I completely agree, because I feel like there's so much. I feel like the people who doesn't understand fully this technology, and it's always like this story behind. And when you see articles, when you see actually conference related with this topic, they're always telling you like it's like you have the money in the bank, but in this case, it's another way. And why, if you trust this, why you don't trust this technology that also is quite transparent, and you can actually see all the transparencies that are taking place. And I think maybe we will see in the future to consolidate, and maybe if we have more information, we will see more of that. And it's true that there are people who say about the environmental issues, but there are other technologies also that have a lot of environmental technology problems, and we don't talk about it actually. Sometimes we have to see each other and see, as you say, a tweet, a simple tweet. We actually consuming that. So
Yeah, I mean,
thank you
it's
so
not, a
much.
tweet has not a big impact, but the newer second generation blockchains like the ones I mentioned, or Zilliqa, for example, which is one that was created with the pure purpose of actually being environmentally friendly and with great technologies like sharding and so on. Like, the impact is non-existent almost. Like, it's, you can, yeah, it's just, but people need to read up on that and need to be able to understand it, and it's also on the organizations themselves to communicate it properly, of course.
I think the same, and it's quite interesting topic. And because when I learn more about it, I see how interesting and how they're trying to do things good for humanity somehow. So we will see. We will see. And sorry, Carmen, what are you going to say?
In the same vein as this question, how long do you think it will take for the teams and other organizations like tournament operators to fully implement NFTs and also get into the metaverse in esports?
Yeah, I think it shouldn't take long. The question is, so the issue here of public opinion without understanding what they're talking about is that they're really slowing down innovation, right? We saw it with Ubisoft, who had to, take it down a notch in terms of their NFT approach. We saw it with Discord, who wanted to get integrated with crypto in several ways, and they stopped that because of the because of people complaining about that without understanding really what they were talking about. And it's going to be a similar thing here, that it's hard to tell, because if it weren't for people complaining about it, people who don't understand what they're complaining about, I'm sure like in a year from now we're all doing NFTs and fan tokens, and we're all doing cool experiences in the metaverse, in the proper metaverse, not in like well, yeah, but I'm sure that it will come all much faster. That being said, quite frankly, in our case at least, we care about what fans think, but we would rather still innovate and double down on educating and keep trying to educate than saying we're not going to innovate. Just because a few people who are, again, they're the minority in that case that I mentioned before shows it, just because that minority is complaining very loudly.
I think it's quite good. And but now I would like to know your personal opinion about this as an someone who has worked in the technology fields and startups in this area. How you see this growth of this sector, and maybe if you can be like a not psychic, sorry, like someone who can guess the future and at least approach one and see what it could be the guesses. And people, be careful, because I think what he's going to say maybe it could be true at the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, not financial advice, and but it's so you're talking about the future of crypto, right? Not about the future of physical.
Exactly,
Yeah, okay. So
exactly.
yeah, so it's a reality. I think we're going to live in an economy where from Web 2 to Web 3, most of the platforms we use, we're going to own a stake in them. It's we still have to define what that ownership means and how it's recognized legally, and if it needs to be recognized legally at all or not. But we will own the rights at least to some of the revenues they generate. It's a world where we will own our data, and we will allow social networks or whatever application to access it during however time we see fit, but not keep our data, and not copy it, not use it, etc. It's an ownership economy where we take back ownership of a lot of the aspects and the information and things that we generate every day, right? And in the case of esports, I think the metaverse concretely, and metaverse doesn't have to be blockchain based, but when it's blockchain based, it's what gives it a meaning really, because it's when you start owning the things that are in that metaverse, right? And when whatever you're building is you're building it in a decentralized way in some of the cases, right? And it's being governed like that. So it's really more like a public utility in a public space than it is something that is owned by someone else, right? So I think the metaverse will become basically the new way of community management. It's the way where instead of doing a viewing party on Discord where we're all just small avatars and small images, we get together with the avatars of our players, after a match and do an AMA or play some games together, on the metaverse, and games that are maybe designed by us and games that are maybe designed by a publisher, that are supplementary to League of Legends, for example, or to Counter-Strike, or to whatever, right? So I think it's just a new way of community management that just allows so much more interaction in a way where merchandise, or NFTs, another way, are understood in a very different way, right? And also somewhere where being a fan of a team, unlocks a currency that you can then exchange for services, for discounts, for special experiences in the metaverse, outside of the metaverse, and that's fan tokens, right? But I still think that it's just so, and this is going to be commonplace. I think it's inevitable that this is the new internet. Again, not financial advice, but my opinion, right? And I think esports is a digitally native way of entertainment, and this is a digitally native way of doing community management, of selling merchandise, of doing fan experiences, of living basically this passion that we have. So it has to go hand in hand. But the ways of applying this are still to be discovered, right? If we look at the apps that we use, from Web 2.0, most on our phones nowadays, they didn't exist, or they weren't even, like, they were long away, far away, when internet was created and when it became mainstream, right? They didn't exist and they weren't even thought of, right? And same thing happens in crypto. Most of the apps, dApps in crypto that we will be using 10 years from now, no one's thinking of them right now. And the technology is not where it needs to be for them to even exist. It will be something that will be ever evolving for sure.
I will expect you in the future to see what happened, and I will take into account your words, not your financial advice, but your words.
So personally speaking, Jorge, what do you think? What would you like to achieve with Mad Lions during this 2022? Perhaps what can we expect as well? But mainly, what are your goals, both competitively and as a business? What do you want to achieve?
Right. So competitively, the LEC is our main effort, obviously, because it's our main team. Not to say that our academy team is not important, but our academy team's mission is also a lot to discover talent, and and to nurture that talent, and help it grow, right? But in the LEC team, our objective is to be at Worlds again. We won, we've been at Worlds. Last year we did, I think, a pretty good job. The year before we were at Worlds as well, and we want to be always there, right? We want to be, you can have a year when you win and a year where you don't win the LEC or whatnot, but we want to be a team that is always participating in Worlds, right? So that's I think our target. We have a couple rookies on the LEC team, but I think Mad Lions is known to be dangerous when there's rookies on the team. 'Cause, Mac and the whole team operations department, they're great at spotting talent and developing it, especially. So that is competitively, I would say, on the League of Legends side. In terms of the rest of the organization, I think we just want to take it a step further in our content production, in our in doing things outside of the game. So to say, I think we have stepped up our content quality quite a lot last year. We increased our views in YouTube by a huge amount, several multiples compared to the previous year. So we just want to keep growing there, and we want to keep gathering fans by doing things that are fun and that are interesting to them, right? I think we have a good, very solid position in Madrid, and a very solid position in Spain, and we have fans from all over Europe. But we want to keep growing, and we want to position ourselves as that kind of Latin brand that is fun and that is playful and joyful, so that people who are looking for something different, they find a home.
That's a huge project from 2022. We hope so. We are sure that it's going to happen. And Trevor, if you like, or more part of the audience, if they have any questions, I think you have already one. And if not, we are going to continue ask you, because it's
Oh,
quite interesting. But I know
yeah.
you have to leave. I know.
Is it?
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes. Sorry. So the question is, how do you pick your venues?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what he means with picking our venues. So yeah, I mean, we don't really pick our venues in that sense, because we have, the LEC is played at the Berlin Riot Studio, so that's given to us, and most of the other competitions we play, they're also set by the publisher. So we don't actually get to pick our venues yet.
And another that it's quite interesting, I think here. The only thing, I don't know your name,
Yeah.
but I'm going to call you LinkedIn user. You drift away your brand subject, but what is your opinion on the role of graphic design in esports? Do you have a art director?
If it wasn't because I saw a comment from our designer further up, I would think maybe this is Jorge, our designer, posting anonymously. No, but so I think one of the things that we've achieved last year, without a doubt, is a huge step up, in my opinion, at least. Of course, I'm biased, but I think we've achieved a huge step up in terms of branding, in terms of everything that's design related. I think it's not just in terms of the quality that we've achieved, it's also in the sense of it being very different and it having a meaning. So, these things you don't tell them on social media because, there's no space and so on. But, people who understand things about branding or who follow our Jorge or our Kane, like you see it there, our designer, LinkedIn, for example, they will see that so much thought goes into every single detail of each design. Like, it just really blows my mind. Like, you see one of the any of the posts where he explains the thought process, and he takes a font from the 19th century that was used for XYZ, and then gives it some meaning why it should be in that design, and it just crazy, right? And that, I think, has created a brand identity that is way more how would you say it, more coherent, right, than what we had before. And I think that that expresses really what we want to say at any given point, right? So we're very proud of how the brand has evolved over these last few years, but especially in these last 12 months, I would say.
Oh, great. And I don't know if any one of you has another question. If not, we can do the last one, Carmen, if you like.
Okay,
You
so
can choose the last question from today.
there's such, oh God. Okay, can you spoil anything or give us a hint of what's to be expecting 2022 from Mad Lions? I need to ask this question, sorry.
Yeah, I can't really
Come
spoil
on.
much. That's one of the issues of being a publicly traded company. You cannot spoil anything that hasn't been properly announced and things like that. So sadly, I can't spoil anything.
Oh,
Okay,
I know you
that'll
will
be
have a lot of things that you cannot say. And here, the last comment from Trevor, but I think is I like to get the sport of North America and Europe more
Yeah.
involved digitally. Yes, we have
Yeah,
an
in our case, North America is one of the things that we're very actively looking into for two main reasons. One is, so even though 50% of our more or less 50% of our fans are not Spanish speaking, right? 50% are, give or take, right? North America has more native Spanish speaking people than Spain, right? The US alone, not North America, the US alone, right? So there's a lot of people out there, both native Spanish, like our brand. I talk about native Spanish because that's where our brand was born, right? But also non-native Spanish that I think would enjoy us doing things there. And then also, we're we have our other two teams, which are Toronto Ultra and Toronto Defiant, who are in North America, right? So we already have an office there and operations there, etc. So it's something that I agree would be so much more fun to have more connection between the two of them.
And now Trevor was
okay.
explaining why he was saying venue, but I know we will have to cut in a few seconds
Okay.
because I mean it's really strict with the time. We always
Yeah.
try to be like it, but thank you so much, Jorge, for being here. It has been really an honor to start the second season of International with you. We have certainly learned a lot from you, and we hope to see more things from the future from Mad Lions, and not only Mad Lions, but from you for sure, because I think you have a high career profile, and I think you are going to surprise us each year somehow.
Hopefully, hopefully, I hope to do so. But just know that it's a whole team. It's a lot of people. I'm just here talking for them, but in reality, I'm just telling you what the whole team does together. So I hope that we can surprise you every year. Hopefully, so.
I'm certain about it. So thank you
Definitely.
so much, Jorge. I will put you down for a minute just because we will say goodbye to you properly.
Okay.
But so please don't go.
Yeah.
And we will say a goodbye to our audience. Thank you so much to everyone, especially Trevor. You have been really, really. I like all the comments that you bring to the, and it brings a lot of value to the today conversations. I like it to see so much people involved. Carmen, and It has been really nice to have you here. It has been really nice to have an amazing guest. But please don't forget that tomorrow we will start with all the section of Miss Papina's life. We are going to have corporate, brand, workers, and as new one in
Marketing,
Friday,
right?
yes, we have marketing. It's going
News.
to be a new strategy. It's going to be a lot of surprises. So keep watching. If you like our content, thumb up. I feel like an influencer saying that, Carmen, I have to say. And see you next week, Carmen. It has been really nice.
See you. Ciao.
See you. Ciao. See you guys.